What's with this really determined look in your eyes there? And what's with the guy behind you? Is he sleeping?
You know, that's a fair interpretation, but I must inform you. It wasn't determination that was on my face. It was depression. And as far as the guy behind me, he probably was asleep. But, as usual, we'll get there. When you last saw me, I was on the way back to the motel after the show, still penniless despite having made money that night, in the backseat of my own car because I lost my license, Happy Meal in my lap, wondering why I didn't just go to Illinois State for computer science like I could have. I just had to be a rapper, and this tour was going to leave me broken for it. 4 shows in, and not a single one of them had gone well. In fact, they'd gone bad. It was looking like the whole tour was going to be a wash. I went to sleep disgusted that night. Curled up in a chair, mind you, because since there were 11 of us and 4 beds between our 2 rooms, we were definitely cycling who would have to sleep on the floor or whatever furniture was around some nights, with the people who didn't have money to help pay for the room starting on the floor by default. Therefore, I woke up, still disgusted and with a crick in my neck, and got into the back of my car to be driven to our next show. In St. Louis. 6.5 hours away. Now, this wasn't entirely terrible because, as you know, I was living in Belleville, Illinois at the time, which is only about 25 minutes away from St. Louis. This meant I was returning to my neck of the woods. This also meant that I could, after explaining to them why someone else was driving my car, surely beg my parents for a hot meal and see if they could offer any assistance in housing all of us in something other than Hotel Cortez for once. With my dad being the Marine he is, I knew there was a possibility that we could finesse ourselves into a rather nice domicile on base for a reasonable price, one that could fit all of us. Having been in one before, I spoke to the guys of this domicile as if it were El Dorado, a divine 2-story sanctuary with 3 bedrooms, mad couches, warm showers, and a kitchen. An incredible place where we could heal our fractured spirits. I was at least 75% sure I was going to be able to come through for all of us. We got to St. Louis wild early and went straight to the venue, the Foo Bar. Red flag right there, but let's continue. Given how the tour had gone so far, the sliver of optimism gained upon seeing how decent the venue was and realizing that we might actually have a crowd because we were in a big city must be viewed as inexplicable and foolish. Niels, merch man during the tour and overall A+ human being, set up shop and we proceeded to wait the hours until the show started. It was during this downtime that I got a call from my dad, as he knew from the itinerary I'd given him that this stop on the tour was close by. He wanted to come and see us perform. Fun fact, my dad had never seen me perform and to this day has still never seen me perform, and not by any fault of his own. For many reasons, I insisted that he not attend, just like I always do. I don't know if I've ever told him this, but I want him and all of my family to see me for the first time when I'm big and famous and all that great stuff, so I've kept them from the struggle to get there. This particular night, I didn't want him to see me because, well, the tour was cursed. There was no telling what speaker would blow or which species of cricket would show up. Nothing was guaranteed as far as show quality, and I didn't want to risk it. After much pushback, he honored my wishes. Which started to feel like a mistake on my part because, oh my goodness, this was looking like the official turning point of the tour. After an eternity, which was partially spent hoping that nothing would go wrong and deciding who would be going first since, we'd be a 29-hour set if we all went together on the bill, the first wave of the crew hit the stage. And they snapped. This ragtag group of nobodies had St. Louis jumping, and it was exhilarating. Big energy. Finally, everything had come together. A crowd, a great sound system. This is what we dreamt about. You can see me here playing hype man since I volunteered to go later on the bill, partially to make up for going first in Colorado Springs, given what happened to those that went after me. I was dumb excited watching them kill it because I knew the agony we'd endured to get to that point. I could have cried. It felt like we were real rappers, on a real tour, making a real connection with the crowd. We were performing our songs recorded in bedrooms, living rooms, makeshift studios, songs that contained our hearts, our souls. And it was paying off. Without a doubt, this was the best night.
You
already know what it is. This is the Can't Sleep Tour. Don't get caught slipping. Don't sleep. Can't sleep. Yeah, the guys were killing it. They got off stage to hearty applause. It looked good going forward, but the future is a dark place, boy. Let me learn you a little bit about show politics. Sometimes you show up to a show and you share the bill with other artists. Sometimes one of those artists is the biggest draw on the bill, and thus, understandably, most of the audience is there to see them. Sometimes, after that artist performs, they will leave the building like Elvis, despite there being more performances left on the bill. Do you know what happens when that happens? Let me tell you. The crowd leaves. And you know what happens 99.9% of the time when the crowd leaves? They don't come back. And do you know where that left me? Here, at the end of the night, performing my songs over an outstanding sound system to nobody. This is why I didn't invite you, Dad, because I didn't want you to see your son on that stage performing for a concrete floor. I didn't want you to see your son on that stage trying to move around enough so that his guys wouldn't see that he was teary-eyed, wanting nothing more than to just evaporate, trying to hold it together as much as he could. This is how you crop video so that people can't tell there was no crowd, then put it on the internet in an attempt to flex like you poppin'. This is how you look when you know the truth of that situation. This is how spirits die, ladies and gentlemen. The guys, perhaps sensing my will to continue rapidly depleting, got on stage to hype me through the rest. Speaking of them, at least they got to rock the crowd, and that was really beautiful to see. I said they snapped, and they indeed did. But do you know what else snapped? Styles' ankle, because in his euphoria, he jumped off a speaker, and his ankle promptly turned into the chalk LeBron throws up. Now, back to me. Where did I go? Where did we go when we left that venue? Outside, of course. To find none other than the guy who brought the audience. With the audience. He was outside with his clout the whole time. And this man had the nerve to dap us up, talking about great show and some other BS, then ask us to be in his music video he was shooting at the moment. Man, if you don't get the And how about that house I thought I was gonna be able to get us for the night? Viewer, you guessed it. You was right. They were all occupied. So, what did we have to do since it was now around midnight and we still had no place to stay? Keep driving all the way back to Nils' house in Springfield, Missouri, 3 hours away. Shout out to him for even agreeing to that solution. The last thing I remember from that night was us pulling over at McDonald's. Yep, Ronald's house again, discussing canceling our subscriptions to Life magazine, if you catch my drift, and personally thinking that following my dream was the decision that would ultimately be responsible for destroying my life. But hey, I'm still living it, right? Yeah, unfortunately. See you Thursday.